everybody, to another episode of Horror Night, special night tonight, Thursday night, special guest tonight, Danny Nightmare. I mean, this is
Hey.
great. I always love having guests on the show, 2 in 1 week. That's like almost a hat trick. Great job, Vic. I do commend you on it. Vic is the scout in all of this. He finds the great guests. He gets them to want to come on. And I really do appreciate all he does here at Horror Nights. Welcome, Danny. Welcome.
Hi, how you doing?
Doing good. Cold, but doing good.
Yeah, I hear that.
Cold.
Getting colder.
It's bad when you're watching Texas Chainsaw Massacre and the weather there looks good. It's almost like, I wish I was there. At least it's warm. At least you're not dying freezing cold.
Breaking into abandoned looking houses or whatever, just mind my own business. Stay on the road.
I would have sat down and ate with them, to be honest with you. But like, what's for dinner?
Right?
I gave your son a ride home. Feed me.
Some guests are just unappreciative, like what's eating them, right?
Exactly. And also, I've learned from that movie, always pay for a photo. If somebody takes the time to take a photo of you, just pay the man. That's it.
Yeah. Exactly.
Oh, we had our last guest said grade. Was it grade me?
She wanted to grate you down to nothing, to skin and bone, and keep grating until there was nothing left, and then possibly put you over pasta.
Now you have Mr. Phantasmo going, feed me, grate me, feed me, saying all these demands on the show.
Have we ever shied away from cannibalism here? What was the first movie I showed you?
That's true. I gave because having kids for so long, Danny. You know, I just fell on the horror scene. You know, it's like Disney movies and all that stuff. So when I started having my own place to record, Mr. Phantasmo was going like, you know what? I'm gonna start showing you horror. I said, like, I challenge you to show me a horror movie that will fuck my head up.
Well, yeah, so we started with Cannibal Holocaust. We went on to Cannibal Ferox. We went on to August Underground. What else did we do? We did Serbian Film. We still yet to do Martyrs and Necromantic, though. You will get there.
Yes. See, my kid, he actually used to help me on Horror Addicts. He'd even be a character named Lals, a little masked demon kid with magic. He'd do all kinds of weird. He's like an Alvin and thing going around like, Lals, you're killing me and stuff. But he'd do all kinds of weird stuff. But once he became a teenager, it just, I guess, horror became uncool. He wasn't really that into it. Like, his friends would come over and like, oh, your parents are watching horror movies? That's so cool. And he's like, no, it's not. They're like, yeah, let's watch horror movies with your parents. And they're like, no, come in my room. Let's play video games or something.
Yeah. I don't know. I think it would be pretty cool if I was around. I mean, I was allowed to watch horror movies with my dad, and that's where my love of it came. And then doing some projects, making some short films, and trying to get into even more creative projects, and maybe soon a feature. You know, I look for it. My kid is and does want to be involved. I have to kind of. He's very young not very young, but he's like 7 or 8. So I got to kind of pull him back of what he can do.
Yeah.
Dad. You know.
Well, that's how it was. My kid's 21 now, but yeah, when he was young, he'd watch not all the really messed up movies, but he'd watch some, and he loved to watch special features, no matter really what movie it was, because he loved to see the backstage, like how they were making all this stuff, and he took a lot of fun making the videos, because he'd do little skits before all the reviews and stuff, and like I said, he'd get to torture me in funny ways. This magic.
So my son's 6 years old, and he's starting to get into the world of horror. And he came home all excited, saying, "Daddy, do you know there's a killer out there named Michael?" Because his name is Michael. And I was like, "Yeah, Michael Myers." And I want to see. Right away, the mother was like, "Absolutely not. You're 6 years old." So one night when I had him over here for the night, he asked me if he wanted to see, and I was just like, "You want to watch Halloween Ends or Halloween 2?"
Why would you show him the worst one, though? You should have shown him at least 4 or 5.
I go and pick.
4's a good one because it's got little kids, so it's like they can empathize with Daniel Harris. It's a good one to show little kids in a sense.
Exactly. 4 or 5 was a good film, and honestly, I would have even shown them 3. 3's even not even that scary. It's more of a comedy. Tom Atkins in the 80s, it's great.
Really
criticize me on my horror.
No, I would never. I understand. I understand. It's a hard kind of game to play because when we grew up, I feel like there was a lot more exploitation horror. So like, I'd go to the movie store, I'd get into that horror section, and what would catch me wouldn't even be the title names. It would be, what
Box
crazy
art.
imagery is on the boxes. The one
Exactly.
that always got me was Paint Me Blood Red. It just has some girl being cut open. I'm like, this is great. I'm taking this one home. What else do we have? Shocker was another one. I would buy it for freaking the
Shocker's
booze.
underrated classic.
But I fell in love with that movie. 90% of the time, the box art's what sold me.
Yeah, my mom would let me rent whatever I wanted, no matter really from the age of 8 up. Just didn't care because she'd be like, "Well, you're 8. Watch your baby sister's like 4." And I'm going,
Yeah, I mean,
do
the only
whatever I
thing I
want.
wasn't
You can watch whatever you want, and I would base it off the cover art. I remember some of them were disappointing though, because like I was actually kind of afraid to rent dolls because that cover art was so creepy looking. And
yeah.
then when I finally did, it was like, oh, this is a silly movie. Like I like it, but it was like
Some of the cover art was misleading. I will agree. The art was better than the films.
sometimes Troll 2. Nothing to do with the movie at all.
Yeah, pretty much. A lot of it was lure bait, looked cool.
That's how it goes.
So tell us the genesis of Horror Addicts. Like, what started this journey for you?
Well, I mean, I've always loved movies and I've always loved horror. Like I said, I was watching horror way too young. I remember illegally when I lived with my mom. I stopped living with her when I was 5, but up until then, I lived with her and she had all the movie channels. She had them illegally, but that's all we had. So we didn't
Me
have
too.
regular
Black
cable.
boxes are the best.
Exactly. We had HBO, Cinemax, all that stuff. So those are what I grew up on. And like, I would see Friday the 13th Part 5. I think that's what came out at the newest one at the time. And Nightmare on Elm 2. Those are the ones in House 2. These are like my
Yep.
first memories of movies. And I just remember like just being so obsessed with this stuff and like knowing that I'm not technically allowed to. And being the only kid on the playground who could tell you all this stuff. Like, kids would know about Freddy, Jason, and even vaguely xenomorphs like an alien or something, or Predator, but they hadn't seen them. So if they came to my house, usually they were only allowed once because I'd show them one of these movies and then their parents wouldn't let them come back over.
I've had that happen before, the kids. And then I've had kids just be like, I'm not going to tell my parents what we watch here, but if they come, you got to change the channel. Like, no problem.
So I would like, and sometimes I'd tell them about a movie where a cat pukes up a mutant cat uninvited. It's just a little smaller mutant cat. And I didn't even remember the title of that movie. And when I met my wife at the time, just my girlfriend, like our very first date, she came over to my house and we watched Slumber Party Massacre and Link, Master of Fire, the orangutan who can, like, he's killer orangutan, but he can light a match and stuff like that. So we watched that and yeah, we fell in love. We loved horror. She wasn't used to really being around someone else who liked horror as much as she did. And that's just kind of how it is.
I think
And
it's fascinating when, like, us horror people find someone else that enjoys or actually appreciates the horror.
exactly.
Or even like the cinematography of horror. Like, I mean,
Like,
I just got a Texas Chainsaw Massacre
that's
Blu-ray
it.
in today. It's chain reactions.
Mhm.
It's a documentary, but it also comes with 8 different versions of the movie, like 16 millimeter, foreign VHS. Like, I'm gonna probably watch all the different versions because I enjoy to watch the different color grades and how it looks on the screen.
Yeah, fast forward to being a little older and like Resident Evil came out for the PlayStation and I had a Sega Saturn, so that's what I bought it for. But people would come over and they're like, "Oh, it's so weird and creepy because all these weird camera angles, like for the whole thing." I'm like, "Yeah, it's shot like Evil Dead," and they're like, "What's that?" And I'm like, "Oh, I'm gonna show you Evil Dead right here, right now, because that's just how movies should be shot." Like, I love the
Well,
cinematography,
yeah.
but not
Well,
the
video
gory.
games a whole nother thing. I think at some point the video games have gotten even more scarier and even more enthralling than a lot of what we see out of Hollywood.
Exactly. And so, yeah, we've been together for about 5 years. We've been married for a couple of years at this point, around 2015, exactly a little over 10 years ago, because it's 10 years in a few months. We started like right away in January. But 2015, I've been talking about doing like kind of a YouTube channel. I've been watching like Angry Video Game Nerd and Black Nerd, and they do a lot of these kind of like fun pop culture, nerd culture type videos, and they do little skits and all that stuff. I'm like, I'd love to do this stuff, but you know, I felt like, well, I can't like top what they're doing, at least in that culture. I'm like, but I love horror. So, and I didn't really know any other horror channels at the time. There was ones that were starting up, and now some of them are really big, and some of them are
There's a
about the
bunch you kind of
yeah,
see, but I'll be honest with you. Most of them just talk about shock value movies. It's like
yeah.
I fall asleep to this shit. Like, how many times can I hear that Megan is missing or the Pagaski tapes is terrible? It's like, dude, I've watched them. I've watched them all.
Exactly.
It's a movie. It tells a story. If it goes beyond that and it's affected you, well, I'm glad it moved you because that's what cinema's supposed to do. But
I think they
at the
wanted
end
to
of the day, it's a movie.
make so exactly they did what they wanted. But yeah, I kept talking about it, and I never got around to it until Tusk came out. And we were watching Tusk, and then at the special features of Tusk, Kevin Smith's talking about how like it all kind of just started as like he was doing his little podcast, and they were talking about it, and they're reading stuff that was off of Gumtree, which Gumtree is like Craigslist for Canada.
Yeah.
And he's like, look at this. There's this funny thing here where it says roommate wanted, free rent as long as you dress up for 2 hours a day as a walrus. And he was just like laughing about it. He's like, this would be a great horror movie. And they just kind of pitched the whole movie right there. And they're like, you know what? We have to really make this a movie. And I'm like, see, he was talking about it and he did it. So you know what? I'm gonna make Horror Addicts, and my first review is gonna be Tusk. So there we go.
And I think
January.
it's the first movie that Long didn't die in.
Well, he didn't technically die. You are correct.
Right? I mean, he was transformed. I actually really liked that movie. That movie gets a lot of hate, but I actually thought it was really good for what it is. I mean, I like movies like Human Centipede and weird ass body mutilation movies, and I thought Tusk was clever because it tells a story in a different way. We always, you know, I mentioned Maggie is missing, right? It's a cautionary tale at the end of the day about,
Mhm.
but it's from a very like innocent point of view. You know, we're very keen in society to, you know, protect the females, protect the young girls, protect all these teenagers and so forth. But nobody's ever protected the podcasters, right? We're just going out there and freaking risking our lives or doing whatever for the sake of views. And it tells a really good thing. This dude's just like shit out of luck. And he's just like, I'll take whatever. And he doesn't really think. And he gets himself into this wild situation. And it's a totally different point of view that normally would be shot from some female that got abducted or something weird. And it wasn't. It was totally different. And yes, it was comedy. And yes, there was a lot of humor in it. But I didn't think it was a terrible movie the way people make it out to be.
It does have genuine like creep factor in it. Like it is a horror movie. Yeah, I'd say it's definitely a comedy as well. But it was just like I don't know, fun, refreshing. I liked Kevin Smith's kind of spin on stuff of that. And I wanted Moose Jaws. Unfortunately, he had his heart attack, and we never got that third movie. Yoga Hosers wasn't as good, I admit, but I still wanted Moose Jaws to complete the trilogy. Maybe someday.
Yeah, maybe. You know, but and like I said, I'm a weird person when it comes to horror movies. It's hard for me to hate a movie.
Yeah.
It's hard for me to really hate it because every movie I kind of look at differently and kind of look at, well, what it's supposed to be. You can't compare movies because they're in different genres. There's so many different subgenres of horror that it's very hard to compare what you're watching.
Even if a movie makes me like kind of mad because I'm somewhat hated, that's still better than boring me. I still find that better than being bored. I'd rather kind of like hate something than just be bored to where I just, well, that was unmemorable.
Yeah. I mean, I've been through some movies where it's just like, okay, I'm just watching like the most mundane thing I can possibly watch, and this, I don't see what it is. And usually that's like, I mean, unfortunately, it's in a lot of the found footage. It's just, it's a big topic, so a lot of people make a lot of found footage. It's easy to make it, cheap on the budget.
Yes,
you can make it, but it has to deliver, and if it doesn't deliver, then it sucks.
Yeah,
and Tubi gets them all. Tubi gets every one of them. So I'll go through and I'll watch them, and it's like, okay, that was a waste of an hour and a half. That was shit. Then some of them will be okay. Some of them will be hit home. Some of them will be like, but it worked. And then it's just like, but some of them are just like, fuck it, I fell asleep, and I'm not going to rewatch that one.
Exactly. They have to have a good payoff because if they can feel real and then give you something, I was like, all right, finally I saw something that I was like, you know, maybe like I feel like I found a treasure because this is a found footage movie. and it paid off to watch it all the way through the end, then yeah, it's good. But if it doesn't, like sometimes I've seen like a Bigfoot movie or two. I'm making a Bigfoot movie, but like I was so disappointed because they didn't even show the Bigfoot. Like it's just there was no payoff, or you saw a quick glimpse of it, and then the camera like aimed somewhere else as the person died.
Everybody trying to like do the ending of Blair Witch where you don't have to see the witch for it to work, and it ain't gonna fly in 2026.
No, I've got away with it just because of how unique the novel idea of the found footage, even though it wasn't quite the first. It was.
No, it wasn't. Cannibal Holocaust was
Yes,
earlier
exactly.
than that, but
it was the one that boomed it.
it did, and then it died down. But then that brought it back, and it showed that hey, look what we can do. And it was more successful as nobody got dragged into jail for murder or attempted murder.
Right.
But I actually went to a panel in September and talked to Heather and one of the other cast, and they were just telling how weird it was because they didn't get to see the movie, they didn't get to go to the premieres, they didn't get to enjoy any of its success whatsoever because they were told to stay the hell away.
Mhm.
And a lot of people thought they were really missing. A lot of people thought this was real. They had to tell family members. It was wild.
I thought when I first heard about it, people were talking about it, I'm like, wow, really? But then I saw kind of some of the website, which was way back in the day, almost dial up, I think.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait, no, they're not gonna put a snuff film in the theaters. That's just how it wouldn't be. These people aren't even if it's just accidental death caught on tape, they wouldn't put that in there. So I was like, and I kind of looked around and I'm like,
yeah,
no,
it wasn't a face of the death kind of film. It was literally okay, there's a trailer for this. If there's a trailer for this, then this can't be that harmful.
Exactly. I was like, is there some truth to it? I'm like, no, there's not. But I was I was definitely interested, when I heard about it, and I had to investigate online as much as I could, which was very limited back then. It came out at the right time because you really couldn't investigate as much as you could nowadays.
No, I mean I didn't fall for it being real, but I enjoyed the film for what it was. A lot of people criticized the ending. I thought it was kind of brilliant because it worked in that kind of film. You wanted to be left hanging, not knowing what the hell is going on.
Yeah.
And then it just went all wonky. They came out with the second one, which was totally weirded out. And then they tried to reboot it or whatever. And it was that one was okay, but the second one was already way too far out for me to be like, fuck.
Oh, yeah.
But, I mean, I don't always listen to critics either. Look at the critics on about Five Nights at Freddy's 2. And I went to see it opening night. I thought it was great rendition of the second game and more. It was a good movie. It was very nicely done, especially for adaptations of games to movies. We've been very lucky recently with horror.
Yeah.
I don't think Resident Evil was actually transcribed over good. I don't think, the actual movie to game to movie. The game was one way, and the movie was more of
different universe,
an action zombie flick where the game was more personal, almost two people alone in the dark. It was different. I'm not saying it's bad. It just didn't connect for me. Silent Hill was okay. Some games though just don't turn out right. They just don't. But I thought they did the Five Nights at Freddy good, trying to incorporate as much as the lore as possible.
Good. I haven't seen it yet. I'm gonna go see it on Saturday. I'm probably gonna do a double feature because I have that Movie Pass app, and I I think I have enough for 2 different showings. So I'm gonna see that, and I'm gonna see Silent Night, Deadly Night's remake.
Oh, that's a good one. So. The original, I take it.
Oh well, I love. Yeah, the original is amazing. There's a remake now that just hit theaters. So.
Oh, they put the remake in theaters. Okay.
Yeah. A new remake, anyways.
It's I was gonna say it was the original, then there was another one, and then there was a few in the original series, different people though, and then they did a reboot at some point. I thought
Part 2 was Garbage Day, and then 3 had Bill Moseley with an exposed brain, and then 4 was about witches, and that had nothing to do with the other 3, and then same thing with 5 was about a toy Geppetto type of thing.
Yeah, usually after the third, unless it's there's some intent behind it. Usually they don't really go well.
Yeah, I think the 5th one actually had Mickey Rooney as Geppetto, but his store was called Petto's Toys. It's no, don't call it that. Oh well.
Kid died. But I take it worked. You got on there. You started to do the whole horror thing. And it took off. It succeeded. Well, at least any which way you enjoyed it. I mean, I don't know your numbers. I didn't really take a peek, but
just shy of 16K. And it boomed like 10K and then like it went up to like 13K, and then it's kind of been a crawl to 16K. That's where.
Let me ask you, when
really
did you
started to
start?
fall.
When did you start?
10 years ago, and like, well, about almost actually next month it'll be 11 years because it was the January.
When was your biggest spike boom?
About 2 years in, up until about 5 years back. But that's also like around 2022 is kind of when I started being less consistent with it.
Well, no, I see, no, and I'll be honest with you. See, I started my podcast in the end of 2020, early 21. I did well. I did okay. We were very successful. We started with shorts. We boomed up. We went all the way to 80,000. Then I got 80,000 by the year 2022, let's say.
Yeah.
And then it's been a crawl from 80,000 to 83,000 in the last few years. And I did realize that YouTube has put changes on the way the videos, channels, and everything get pushed and promoted because people were taking off. And well, to be honest with you, they make it hard for creators.
Oh yeah, especially like anything that's not super family friendly, therefore horror content. They like really were hard on us just because someone did some horrible like Nazi thing, and then like the ad people complained because they were showing their ads on their weird Nazi video on YouTube. They punished a lot of people. And, like the horror community was part of that, even though we had nothing to do with it. Just,
Well, even wrestling people get flagged
yeah,
now for real
exactly.
world violence, and it's like, no, that's
Violence
not
porn or
violence.
whatever. So
That is not the way it works. And
shouldn't be.
it's like, come on. There's
Well,
one thing about putting something cinematically out there, talking about. There's another thing about putting, pseudo snuff out there. I mean, you can tell the difference.
exactly.
If it's portrayed as real violence and there's no credits, then we have a problem. But if there's credits on there, or there's some kind of title, then
Right.
to me, it's a freaking movie. Okay, it's a film. It's a short. It's something.
Mhm.
Somebody put time and edited it and created it.
Right.
But I do, yeah. I mean, I do have issues with social media. I mean, I still plug away, obviously, but I do like to ask when people's like started to fall off or not get as many consecutive followers, because I feel like in that 22, 23 period, they made a lot of changes.
Oh yeah, they did. Rolled with a couple of rolls of changes that they've done. So I mean, even the
Oh
whole
yeah, they always make it harder and harder to get monetized. I remember when I first started YouTube, like all you needed was like 100 subscribers, you could be monetized, and then like they slowly changed everything.
I remember
They
like
want you to jump through hoops, do rolls, flip tricks. You might as well just like shoot what they want you to shoot, follow their scripts. Like it's crazy.
yeah, I mean, especially like even when Logan Paul did that stupid thing in the Japanese suicide forest, that also hurt everybody who was on YouTube too. They just things that had nothing to do with us. Just
But
they
well,
just
why? Why should that even affect anybody? Because of the word suicide? Is that the issue?
Oh, he showed an actual corpse on his YouTube channel. He
You
went to
didn't
the
blur it out.
Nope, not originally. He had to like re-upload it with it.
Well, see, I mean that's poor editing on him. So you ban his channel, but that's nobody else's
Yeah,
problem.
but that was a big controversy, and YouTube got all this flack from their sponsors, so they just
I
went
mean, I
hardcore.
dressed up as Leatherface and humped a pretend skeleton, and I got a strike and a ban almost. I was fully clothed, no dead bodies, but probably
Yeah.
because of that.
Yeah, probably.
I feel like it wasn't honestly that harsh what I did. Vic will tell you, it was more funny than anything.
Yes, and then some other guy does the same exact thing, and he just gets an 18 plus slapped on him.
Yeah, he got an 18 plus slapped on him. I got a
Yeah.
strike and demonetized. Oh well.
Yeah, I think I had a live stream about Puppet Master, and one of the rewards I like let people like made these like little cartoon kittens follow me if they gave like donated money like a super chat, and I'm like, oh yeah, and like yeah, someone like I was reading a comment and it was like it's raining pussy. I'm like, yeah, but then like the whole thing got a slap 18 plus on it just from that one line.
That's okay.
Well, I've done way worse in other videos.
In our early days, Vic used to just send out the link to people if they wanted to join in. One guy just came in naked.
There you go.
Just got the whole thing banned. Boom. One shot. Even the other night, what was going on with the music, Vic? We had to like keep muting it because we didn't want the copyright strikes. He had the radio was playing in the background, couldn't shut it off. It was just
Yeah, that was a little
because if the
issue.
video don't get you, the music surely will. They pick up the littlest sound of the littlest bite, and if your sound's even close to something famous, you're gonna get a strike.
Right. And there's people who can like claim it, even if it is royalty free. They can like remix it a little bit and then claim it, and then that screws everybody who was using a royalty free song.
Pretty much.
I mean, like you can like fight it, but that means it'll demonetize you for months while they figure it out, and then by the
Or
time
there's some
they
people
put
that
it
get
back, you
greedy and
don't
go
watch
out and
the video
actually
anymore.
buy the royalty free stuff up just so
Yeah.
they can slap people.
Yeah, but I mean that was happening to me. I had to like change my end music, my end credits, just because it was royalty free. But some place in India kept claiming it, and even though I would like fight it, and like about 3 or 4 weeks later, they would say, "Oh yeah, you're right. They here it's for, you can be monetized again." I'm like, yeah, it's been 4 weeks. No one's watching that video anymore. Thank you.
You know why? That's why I hate to say it, but AI music programs can be a lifesaver. You don't have to worry about that shit. And it gets rid of all the freaking who owns what do you have to do, who you got to pay, and who's monetized. I hate to
Right.
say it, but sometimes the artists make it more complicated than it has to be.
I
Or they
agree.
ask for an insane amount of money for the rights to use, 10 seconds of a song.
That's why I just kind of collaborated with some of my musician friends, and we just made some music for me because I was just tired.
I
of
mean,
it.
I have Music Maker and I played with that too. So, I mean, I mostly I try to use my own original stuff any which way because it's just, I got to the point that even songs that you use, like you said, eventually they become demonetized or something else happens. Somebody picks them up and you get a slap on them. Then you got to go back, edit it or delete it. It's just
Yep,
too much of a hassle.
exactly.
You know, it is what it is, though. Social media is never easy, but I do like the horror end of social media. I'll say that. I'll say that the community itself is pretty decent. Everybody's pretty good to each other. I
I
don't
would
see a
say,
lot of hate that I've seen. Coming from pro wrestling
oh
community,
yeah,
I've seen a lot of hate, a
yeah.
lot of hate, a lot of negativity, a lot of bullshit. And I don't really see that in the horror. I see a lot of brotherhood, commodity, people wanting to help, people wanting to collab, people wanting to help make films, people wanting to be part of films, people wanting to just talk horror. I mean, the conventions are great. I go to, 5 or 6 a year, 7 a year. You just talk to everybody talks to you. It's a great community.
Yeah, there's like maybe 1 out of 100 people who become a problem, and then we just kind of like get rid of that problem by just like, yeah, okay, you can't be with us if you're gonna
Yeah,
spread
nobody
hate.
wants to be the problem in the horror film, though,
No,
because
I mean,
like
it's very
they
hard.
know that they could dispose of them in a million ways. We're all
Exactly.
horror fans.
Most horror people are just super cool and chill and fun, and like I was one of the things I loved about the early days of YouTube is just finding other people. And like I remember Brian Barnes, he was like just the first person like reached out to me. He's like, "You want to collab?" I'm like, "Collab? Oh, I mean like we both work on a video together? Cool, let's do it." And then like bigger channels and more fun, like just things kept happening. I was like, "Wow, I love this." The community was just great. So I've gone out of my way to like protect it. And like even Joe Bob and Darcy from the last drive-in, they're
Yep,
very active and they're very like interactive with the community. And
they're
I'm like,
great.
hey,
I saw them last year. They came. They did some showings on Bubba Hotep and some other
nice.
one. They did some talks and stuff. We got to meet them. Great too. They're very knowledgeable and
Oh yeah.
just bring an extra sense to the film. I
Hmm.
mean, honestly, just having facts read anyways or knowing extras about a film is very interesting. Like I recently went to the Creature feature in Scranton, Pennsylvania, and they had a lot of people from Texas Chainsaw Massacre one there. They had John Duggan, and they had Ed Neal, and they had Bob Mosley from Two, Bill Mosley, and they had the filmographer. So they were doing a screening of the film with live commentary with the people that were on set. And that
Hmm.
was really, really interesting because you're getting a whole different perspective of a film when you're talking to actors and people because they're not watching the movie as you are. They're like, "Well, I was doing this, and then the next day I ran over there," and like half of the shit don't make sense until they watch the end of the movie.
Oh,
Everything's shot all over the place.
right. No, yeah. Yeah, and I just went down to Portland, Oregon for Joe Bob's book signing like last month or 2 months ago. But earlier this year, I interviewed him at Seattle Crypticon, and that went really smoothly. So, and it's like that wasn't even the first time I've met him. Like he's even mentioned Horror Addicts on his show when he accepted his Oscar. Here's the thing, and like part of the community, I made up the Oscars, which is our version of the Oscars, but scares. And we get like different people to present each award. He presented one year Best Actress. The award went to Barbara Crampton that year. So,
Okay, nice.
but he's won the award a few times himself, like different things. He's won Horror Hottie because Diana Prince won Horror Hottie, and he won the Lifetime Achievement in Horror Award that year. But he made a little joke, like he posted on social media. He's like, "Look, Diana's won an award, and I won Horror Hottie." He was just joking, but because she won that. And a lot of people were like, "Well, wait, why is Joe Bob not? How come he didn't win Horror Hottie?" And I was like, "Well, because you got to nominate him." Like I asked the community, just the community in general, like to nominate nominees, and then we go through how many nominees. If there's one random one for a movie that most people hate, then obviously I'm not going to take that nominee. But I kind of find out how people feel for all the nominees by all the ones I get, and then I get like fellow filmmakers, YouTube content creators, and stuff like that, and we get them to all kind of vote on what the nominees are. But then, like, so yeah, everybody just kind of sent in like that same year after he made that post that Joe Bob should win male horror hottie the next year, and so I put him on there, and then yeah, he got voted in. He did win it, so he like accepted his horror hottie award on his Joe Bob's Halloween Hootenanny like a few years back. It was pretty
That's
funny.
awesome.
And he actually could say my hometown Wenatchee like correctly. Or we always get like wrestlers that come into, because even WWE has come to Wenatchee a few times. They'll get on, like I remember Mr. Anderson when TNA came through, and he's like,
Yeah.
"Hello, Wenatchee," but he's like wearing our like hockey jersey, and he's like, "Wenatchee, I love you guys," and we're just like, "You can't even say the name right."
Well, but Joe Bob's probably been everywhere. He's probably seen movies in every state. He's been to every drive-in.
He's like, Wenatchee's a place where you can get yourself a genuine squirrel burger, which is not completely wrong. I mean, not the city, but we have like about out of town up by Lake Wenatchee. There's a restaurant called the Squirrel Tree, and you can get a squirrel burger. It's not made out of real squirrel, but it's like, if you're ever in the time, I will buy you a squirrel burger, Joe Bob. But hung out with him a few times, and he always remembers me. Like he starts writing Knightmare. He doesn't know that there's a silent K, but the fact that he just starts writing Danny Knightmare every time he meets me, it just makes me super happy. I'm like, aw.
That's good. At least you know.
Knows that I exist.
That's it. I like them. I enjoy watching them, and I enjoyed seeing them live. And this was actually, believe it or not, the first year I started doing cons. But I just love the whole environment. I love meeting the people. I love going to the panels. I loved watching the screenings, the short films, meeting independent directors and filmmakers and actresses and actors, and buying all sorts of crazy merch and physical media. I'm a huge physical media collector, and
Oh, same, man.
I'm a huge NECA. I'm a huge NECA collector. I have figures.
NECA figures are like really good. Like I have a lot of the horror ones, and Ninja Turtle NECAs. I got a few of them. So
I don't know what happened to him. But anyways,
what's up?
this is kind of the question I've been asking all our guests these days.
Yeah.
If you can use one method to kill someone, and it's totally legal as long as you keep on using that same method, how would you kill someone?
Like it's legal as long as I do this method. Does it have to be practical?
Geez, I mean, the last guest has said they grade someone to death and feed it to other people over pasta. So
I guess I would do something like just insane and funny, like landmine in a pinata.
that'd be funny.
So it just explodes as they hit it, and just boom. Like,
Surprise me.
Boots, like boots that are still there.
That reminds me of this movie I was watching the other night. I think it was called Landmine or Don't Step on the Mine. It's like this trio went out hiking, and like they end up somehow getting like some locals fuck around with them, and they end up standing on a mine, one of them. And come to find out, though, it gets deeper. Like it was set up by the boyfriend because they found out the girl was cheating, and it's just a crazy movie, and it just continues to go all the way until the ending, and then at the end you're just like, what the fuck did I just watch?
Right.
But in a good way. I wasn't like, damn, I'm disappointed. I'm like, damn, I kind of want to watch it again, but it's 1 a.m, 2 a.m. I should probably try to go to sleep. kind of thing. No, the other one she had a plan, Vic. Okay, she knew what she wanted to do, and she probably had the grader on already.
I've always wanted like cheese grater armor. Like the armor is like steel and stuff, but it has the cheese grater like kind of in there. Is that way if like anybody was your sword fighting through a battlefield and someone just got too close to you, just grab them by their face and push down your chest. So just like would cheese grate their face right off. That'd be pretty
We
cool.
could just charge at them. Like, yeah, it's not bad.
Yeah, like just anybody who got too close when you're in like a big mass battlefield of sword fights. Just grade them with your
Cheese graters just look scary though because they're little sharp blades. Then you got the holes. There's people that have phobias of just the holes. It's just the whole
exactly intimidating.
It can play with you. Plus, it's not it's something for food, but used as a weapon, it's just it's not a clean cut. It's going to be very messy.
Yeah, your face couldn't heal from that. Like if you get sliced, you probably have like a scar or whatever. But if you get cheese grated off, like it wouldn't feel right at all.
You would have to have skin grafts or something. I don't even know.
Mhm.
So with all the horror that you have on, what would you say like is your go-to movie? What do you enjoy watching the most? That you'll just go to like that's my shit.
Lately it's been Onyx the Fortuitous and the Talisman of Souls. Andrew Bowser, he's just such a fun guy, and I just really love that movie. It's very nostalgic, even though it's a brand new movie. And he actually presented my Oscars last year. Because I was like, dude, I love your movie. Would you like to present? So he like presented the best movie, but we played a few little skits throughout the whole ceremony. That's that. Before that, I guess I was watching Greasy Strangler a lot. But my all-time just favorite makes me feel good is Evil Dead 2.
That's a good movie.
In general.
For me, that movie is similar to kind of like Return of the Living Dead. It's got the perfect sense of like horror and humor.
Yeah, exactly.
It's not totally serious. It's not totally though comedy. There's a good mix of everything in there.
The original Evil Dead is a horror movie with some ironic comedy in it. Like it's not supposed to be, it just kind of is because things like claymation just gets outdated. That's just how it is. It's nothing. The movie's amazing. But then part 2 is a horror with a little bit of comedy in it, and then 3 would be comedy with some horror in it. So there you go.
Yeah, 3 they went a different direction, but by then he was already kind of an icon. He's got a chainsaw front on. There's only so many directions you really can go with that film.
Exactly.
Even 2 was kind of like, well, why is he going back to the same house and giving some new girl the same necklace?
It's because they didn't have the rights. They wanted to show like a little flashback montage in the beginning of the movie, but they already changed over to a different studio and they couldn't get any footage. So just like, you know what, we're just going to redo it, but just with one girl and make it quicker so we can move on to what we want to do after that.
But I did think the second one had more of like, I don't know, I think it was more scary in the sense there's only 2 of them there. It's like, what the hell's going on rather than a group of people.
It was the last out of the 3 that I saw, to be honest, but I love it the most. I saw Army of Darkness when it was in theaters. I was like 8 years old or whatever. I was still living on a drive-in because I used to live on an actual drive-in. My dad was the manager of the theater, but the theater also owned the drive-in. So you go behind the snack bar, there's an office with some stairs. Stairs would take you up to 2 different doors. One would take you to the projection rooms. The other one would take you to an apartment that was actually pretty spacious. It's only a 2-bedroom apartment, but it was pretty big. Me and my dad lived there for the longest time. So I just watched movies out my window. But Army of Darkness came out around that time, and they had the big cardboard cutout with the little ashes stabbing him and the girl. It's very like Star Wars, but horror. And he let me keep that, even though like I had to beg and beg and beg. But my dad's like, fine, you can have it after that because he's the manager of the theater and we got to keep it. Until we moved from there. And then it just mysteriously disappeared in the move. I'm like, oh. Then it broke my heart, but I had that for a while. I had a bunch of movie posters and other memorabilia because my dad was just manager of the theater, and we lived at the drive-in. But that's how I saw Army of Darkness. It was playing there, and my dad kind of like he would have to screen movies before we'd actually show him to make sure the film worked and all that stuff. He let me do that a few times. I did it for the RoboJocks, and I even did it for Jurassic Park. Me and my cousin watched that. Nice. Like on a Thursday because it was going to premiere on a Friday. So when I went to school on Friday, I ruined Jurassic Park for everybody in my class. I'm like, yeah, the T-Rex saves the day. It eats the raptors. They're like, no, why would a T-Rex save the day? You're dumb. You're lying. They come back on Monday. They're like, you bastard. This is before spoiler warnings were.
Yeah, before the internet. 93 we're talking about here.
But But yeah, so I loved Army of Darkness. Saw it as a very young age. I had no idea that it was a sequel to really anything. I'm just like, whoa, this guy's killing people. He's got a chainsaw arm and he's fighting medieval monsters. This is so cool. Later, I saw Evil Dead. Like I said, my mom would let me, when I go visit her on weekends, she would just let me rent whatever I wanted as long as I babysit my sister. She's like, I don't care. As long as you take care of your sister, well, I go out and enjoy myself at the bar all night or whatever the hell she was doing. That's just why I would go visit her on weekends. I didn't really have much of a relationship with my mom, but I would go for my little sister and to horror movies. I rented Evil Dead, and I was like, "Oh, I love this movie. This movie's insane." I
But
finally
then you
saw Evil
realize
Dead.
that it has it has the Book of the Dead in, and it has the Necromonicon,
Yeah,
and
and then
not
I
even like not even the H.P. Lovecraft version. It has like a real deal Necromonicon in there, with real Sumerian text and shit. Which I
right?
think I think the whole book is very cool and
Oh yeah,
fascinating. I've bought a few prop replicas of it just because I
I
do
have a couple
enjoy
of
it.
them as well. I have a few of
Um,
them.
I like the
There's no
artwork
personalizing.
inside. But I thought that whole thing, the first film, was fascinating in that aspect, that they had the archaeologists and the tapes, and it made it seem like something that, well, this is a text that we don't know about, or that the humanity doesn't know about. It probably shouldn't be read.
Yeah,
This is where we fuck around and find out, and they found out.
exactly. And then I love that movie. And then like a couple of years later, I was like, I think with my one of my first girlfriends ever, whatever, we rented Evil Dead 2. And I did the whole Leonardo DiCaprio thing. I'm like, wait a minute. So Evil Dead and Army of Darkness. Oh, it makes sense. Like, no wonder. And like, I didn't click. Like, it felt very familiar. Like when I was watching Evil Dead, but since he didn't get the chainsaw
It's
hand
like
and
watching the
Bruce
Star
Campbell's
Wars
so young
trilogy
and doesn't act the
backwards.
same in that movie, like I was like, oh, I'm like, holy crap, it's a trilogy. So then your same girlfriend, she like bought me all three of them on VHS for Christmas, like later that year. She knew I loved them all. But I was like, yeah,
Great.
cool.
Well, yeah, because you wouldn't think so, because it doesn't. It's not called Evil Dead Army of Darkness. It's
Yeah,
just called Army of Darkness.
yeah. So like
But
I
you
said,
have to watch the end of 2 to realize what's going on.
exactly. So when I finally first watched two, I was like, oh, this makes sense. This is Army of Darkness's prequel. They all three connected. Like, holy shit.
Oh my god!
I used to own the cardboard cutout for the third movie.
What do you think of the remake of it?
Yeah, basically. The remake, as far as remakes go, it was good. Like they did their own thing, but kept it familiar enough, you know. And then I even
I
liked
think they
Robert.
had to do their own things. I don't think you can replace the
No,
character of Bruce.
exactly, and I think they knew that. Because there was a couple of attempts to make a remake that didn't involve Bruce Campbell or Raimi at all, and they like made it to where those would get kiboshed. Like they just shut them down before they could get made. But they're like, we can't keep doing this forever. Someone's eventually going to get a loophole, and they're going to be able to remake our movie. We have to be involved. We can get a different director. You know, they can have a unique spin on it, but we should be at least producing and like kind of in control of it. So they finally decided to make the remake themselves because people kept trying to without them, and they just they knew eventually it was going to happen.
Because they could have technically kept going, I think, with Army of Darkness. Didn't it like go into the comic book realms with Army of Darkness and keep like expanding forward?
Yeah, it did. They had Army of Darkness had its own comics. Evil Dead had its own comics. Ash himself had like different comics where he crossed over with different people.
Yeah, like Ash versus this and Ash versus that.
Yeah, and then they made the show eventually, the Ash versus the Evil Dead, which was after the remake, but still like its own continuity of Ash. They had the video games; those all had different like kind of continuities, but they are all part of that universe. So
Oh, they do good. Some of the remakes aren't bad. I honestly think if as long as you go in your own direction and don't try to replace the characters that we had or the people that played the characters, like
don't
Candyman
get
did
on
the
the
same thing. They knew they couldn't get Tony Todd. They couldn't have that same Candyman, so they made their own. They
yeah,
threw reference to him. They even showed parts of him, but they
mhm.
made their own out of it because you
Yeah,
can't compare that.
exactly.
It's too hard to get the casting from the 80s and 90s. They're too iconic. And the fans in their head are always going to put it to them. They're always going to compare. You
Oh
don't
yeah.
want them to compare because as soon as they compare, they're going to say, well, it was better then.
Exactly. You want it to lovely play like a tribute and a montage to like in a loving spirit to the original. You don't want to shit on the original at all, but you definitely want to be your own unique vision of it to where people are like, okay, well, it's cool. They did a nice their own thing. At least they acknowledged and paste
Yeah,
some
expand the
references.
story or
Yeah.
something. Go into a part of the story that maybe wasn't told, or that people would be interested in.
Mhm.
If there was a 2 and 3 of a movie, go in between. Go 2.5. Show what
It's
was
like
going on in between.
they did Leprechaun Origins. It was a WWE movie and like had Hornswoggle in it, but there was no point. And when I first heard about it, I'm like, okay, Hornswoggle might make a decent Leprechaun since he's like got all the shenanigans on WWE. But then he's like this weird mutant cat looking thing. He has no personality. So I'm like, why did they even bother him? Like, it could have just been a puppet. And he
Didn't
was on like,
Fuzz on the Lens produce that one? Is that the one they produced? They brought Ozzy back.
no, that was a Leprechaun. That was Leprechaun Returns. But
I
Leprechaun
liked
Origins,
Returns. I thought Origins. Yeah, I know the Origins one. I liked Returns. I thought they did
yeah,
good bringing
Returns
those
was
people
great.
back.
And that was kind of like a reboot, like sequel, because like it was like a direct sequel to the first movie, which is fine because the other sequels were always different leprechauns. Like it was like Leprechaun 2, 3, 4, like they're just different versions of a different leprechaun. It has its own background story. I think Back to the Hood and Back to the Hood were the only time where there was continuity. But otherwise,
Yeah,
like
because
this
like
leprechaun
two,
has a different like curse and background. This
it
one
was
like
the
knows
same
a flute.
actor, but it was just different characters. Like two
Yeah,
had a very like almost it was folklore, and then 3 went to Vegas.
yeah.
Then you got everything else. You got them going to space, the Hood here, there, every which where.
Exactly. But then, yeah, I remember they did Leprechaun Origins, WWE, and Hornswoggle, but he shit on it. Like I remember, like in interviews, like, "Oh, I've never even seen those movies, and it doesn't matter because that guy sucks. I'm going to be way better." I'm like, "Well, it made me not like your movie before I've even seen it." And then I did see it. And I was like, "You don't have any personality. You're just like this weird skin-looking cat that has gold vision." And like, it made no sense.
No, the original Leprechaun was as witty and as fun as Chucky or Freddy. He had the one-liners, and you need that. That's what
Exactly.
broke up the movie. You had these kills, but they made it funny.
Uh huh. How's it hanging?
You know,
I love
He'll be gold. All those things, and then that's what made that character.
exactly. That was why, well, even though those sequels might not have been very good, Warwick Davis was always great as the
I'm
Leprechaun.
excited to meet Warwick Davis in August.
Right.
I'm going to Texas to see him, and I'm very excited. I got a few pieces of memorabilia to get signed, but so
Acting
I met
again.
I met Mark last September, and I got a nice photo of them two together. But I got a few, like I said, Leprechaun things, and regardless of how good the sequels were, it's like Puppet Master. It's an iconic series, regardless.
Uh-huh. Exactly. I love Puppet Master. Like honestly, I would rent Puppet Master 4 and 5 all the time when I was a kid because that's the one where they fight little demon puppets
Yeah,
like from hell. And it was like even though there was enough blood in there to get an R-rated movie, it felt like kind of a kids movie. And I
it had
was a
toys.
kid,
The
so
toys.
I liked it. Like it's just like it very entertaining. I remember my dad would like, I suppose you can watch those. It's fine,
But I
whatever.
think they went all the way up to like 13 or something. They went really into it afterwards. But again, some of these movies go way too far in their thing. Even Hellraiser went a little too far.
Yeah.
Where it just kind of just went all over the place.
Hellraiser, I would say that's worse because Puppet Master Charles Band, he would make these movies to sell like toys and stuff like that. That's how he actually keeps like afloat. He will sell the actual figurines and things like that, and you
Oh
buy
yeah,
these collectible
I
stuff.
mean,
And
I'm sure they make good things. On
exactly,
the website, I mean, I got the whole setup there on the top there, just hanging around waiting.
exactly, those are amazing. I
Mm.
don't have them myself, but I know of a person that has those, and I've actually seen them. They're really good quality and stuff. And that's the thing, Charles Band, he like keeps afloat by selling stuff, and he keeps making it for the fans, and I appreciate it because he's still in charge of Puppet Master.
They
Hellraiser,
actually got the
unfortunately.
first Child's Band collection too. That's all the other movies that he's making. He's made more than just Puppet Master. He's made tons of films.
My problem with Hellraiser is because like after 4, they weren't even like made by any of the same people. They had Doug Bradley come back for a few of them. Obviously, eventually they stopped even have Doug Bradley come back, but it was just like spec scripts that weren't Hellraiser. They
Trying to
just
think, what was for? Was that the one with Ashley Lawrence as the wife?
it has space and then time travel and stuff like they go back
Okay,
in
that
time.
4 was
Bloodline.
not. Yeah, 4 was when they went back. I don't mind 5 and 6. 5 was about the cop, and I
Mhm.
think 6 is they bring Ashley Lawrence back, and she's the wife of some sick dude, and he like tries to get. He knows her past, but won't divulge, and he tries to get her to open the box, and she ends up playing him opens
Yeah.
the box, resummons the demons. They know who she is, and she sacrifices them. I did like that because she does reprise the role.
And it was connected.
But
But
after
yeah,
that, everything just got crazy. It went into a rave. It went digital.
video game world, like there was like
Yeah,
better.
then there was the guy that was like, it got biblical. There was a Jesus involved, and Michael the Archangel comes down.
Well, that's because a lot of those movies weren't actually written to be Hellraiser movies. They were spec scripts, but they were
Yeah.
turned into Hellraiser movies just to keep the rights. The studio just wanted to keep the rights, so they would dish out something
Yeah,
quick.
Clive Barker had nothing to do with it. He stopped making it.
Exactly.
He just let them go, and it's like anybody could make a Hellraiser movie. Well, who's going to do it? I didn't mind the one with the female Cenobite either, the latest one. I
The
thought that was
reboot.
a good spin.
It was
Yeah, I
good.
thought the reboot was fine. But you're
Compared
not
to a
going to
lot of
beat
movies in the
Doug
franchise,
Bradley.
yeah,
You're not
exactly.
going to beat Doug Bradley, but now they're making the video game, and they reprise his role. Clive Barker directed the game, and Doug Bradley is starring as Pinhead in the game.
Yeah. We actually, I met Doug Bradley and I asked him what his favorite sequel was after the original, and he said 3 because he got to, even though he's a little more Freddy Krueger and he talks a lot, but that's why he got to talk a lot. He got to be on camera and do more, and I'm like, okay, good reason.
I was when I met him in August, September. I was starstruck. I didn't ask him many questions. I was just like, "Get Pinhead. This is great. Please sign this." And I have because I have like a picture. I have Clive. It's a cross made out of the laminate configuration, and so
Nice.
and I have Clive Barker signed one corner, and then I
Awesome.
had Ashley Lawrence and him sign the other two.
Yeah, I got Ashley's autograph somewhere around here. So
I actually met her twice. I met her also in Salem. She came and they did a question and answering and then a screening of Hellraiser 2, which was really fun to
yeah.
have her kind of there watching that one with us all and kind of telling us cool things about it.
Yeah, I need to go down to Texas for like Frightmare one of these times. I've never actually been there. I've been mostly just the Washington State, Portland area for cons. I've been a panelist for Crypticon since 2015. Once I started Horror Addicts, I started being brought on to be on panels to interview people and stuff like that. So that's been a lot of fun. And it gets me into the con
It's
for
my
free.
first time going to Texas. Last year I just stayed local. I did all the ones in Mass, and then I did a couple in Connecticut and Pennsylvania, New Hampshire. Next year I'm going to try the Texas. This one in Indianapolis, Days of the Dead, keep calling me. I don't think I'm going to make that one though.
Yeah.
Some of them I just see the guests and I'm like, God damn, I want to go. I want to meet them all.
Crypticon for me is just fun because it's like a horror camp where I just meet all my fellow panelists and we just have a great weekend in this hotel. And it's very just personal for that. Like the guests aren't usually amazing. They always have a few amazing ones, obviously, but it's not all about that. We have Elvira's HorrorCon. That's more of like a big area just full of celebrities, and it's really cool. My wife got to interview a couple of the girls from the Buffy TV show, so we got to get in for free on that one. So that was awesome. I could probably interview somebody there eventually as well, but mostly I just do a lot of stuff with Crypticon. We've gone down to like Portland and stuff as well, just for like cons and other horror related type shindigs. So, in fact, this year I interviewed Joe Bob, but last year, the Crypticon before that, my movie The Orchard Man played there at their because they also have like a little movie festival as well. It's just a whole bunch of things at Crypticon, so I love it.
Oh, you got a movie out there?
Yeah, I got a movie called The Orchard Man. You can watch it on my YouTube channel if you're a member. It did a few rounds through the festivals, but now it's done doing that. So it's just anybody who's a member on my channel can watch it. Ronnie Angel stars in it, so there you go.
Oh, very cool. Awesome.
Yeah.
That's great. I've done a few short films, hoping, like I said, do a feature, and hoping to hit more cons in 26. Bring Victor along.
Yeah. Working on a short film right now called Remember Mommy. And then I got the found footage Bigfoot movie that I'm going to be working on. That one I'm just going to go full length because, like you said, found footage, you can do that cheap. As long as that payoff, and which that would payoff would be the same regardless if it was a full length or a short film. That's where I have to put my money into. The rest I can just do basically almost for as long as it's in my time. So.
As long as it's just your time, and then the audience's time to watch. As long as the story is keeping them going to the end.
Exactly. And I got some fun stuff planned for that one. So that one I'm just gonna go ahead and make full length. After I've made a few short films, I'll probably turn them into like an anthology, and therefore I'll have
Yeah, I love
two full
anthology
length.
horror. That's why I shoot short films. I know someday I'm going to take it and turn it into like, either
Mhm.
a Tales from the Hood or a Tales from the Crypt or something kind of,
Exactly.
put them all together.
Mhm.
And I think that's the fun thing about horror. You can start even making a short film, get it out there, get it done. You can always go back later and you can add scenes. You can make it into a feature film. You can re-edit it. You can recolor grade it. You can redo whatever you want. You can make a new soundtrack.
And a lot of big films, they started off as just like a short film that like they saw and they're like, oh, we could turn this into and then the studio will come and knock in with some money. You can make a real movie. I mean, that's
I
what they
mean, look at,
saw.
look at
How
Terrifier.
was just the reverse bear trap? Like, was a short film about the reverse bear trap, and that got turned into a full length film. So there you go. That's how
Look at
sauce.
Terrifier. You had Circle, like
Mhm.
the Ninth Circle was just a short about a
Exactly.
clown. And you had, you
Mhm.
had, what was it, All Hallows Eve, which was a little
Yeah.
anthology, and you had a few others, but then,
Yeah.
he brought in somebody else, and even the first Terrifier movie wasn't that. Nobody cared. Nobody
Yeah.
really
It was
started to pay attention until 2 and 3 came in, till they
because
had the producers and the money.
exactly, and then like 3 was in theaters. Like, boom. Like, there you go. Like, I saw that in just local theater. Like, on like, oh, I'm glad that horror is getting big like this. So
It is.
finally.
I think horror now again is in its boom phase. People are loving it. People are liking. I think they are enjoying some of the reboots. I think they do like some of the blood movies, that we get. We're not really in the exploitation, phase of horror anymore. I think that's kind of past. But we are into, a good sense of. I think that we're getting some different stuff on the Hollywood scene, anyways.
Well, that's the thing. Terrifier 2 did great on streaming services, and they look at that. They're like, oh, people do want to watch these gore movies and stuff. Oh, I guess we can throw them in theaters. Why not? I mean, if they're doing great on streaming, we'll throw them in a theater. And like,
The
then they took
thing
them
is,
to, like,
though, they
movie
will
theaters.
probably always do better on streaming, just because I think there's a
Oh, of course.
commodity of sitting home and watching a movie any which
Yeah,
way. I mean, you can sit there, you can smoke some weed, you can drink a drink, you can freaking get up and pause. You can do all these things that you can't do in a movie theater. When you go to a movie theater, it's a commitment. You have to
exactly.
commit to the 2 hours of time to sit there and not be bothered and not bother with anything else. You can't go and checking your phone and doing all this other shit. Now, to
And
some, that's fine. To others, they don't even have the 2 hours to do that.
Jack Black was so upset that the Tenacious D movie didn't do that well in theaters. I'm like, well, stoners don't want to go to a theater. Stoners love your stuff. It did great on DVD when it got released on DVD, but he was very upset because Tenacious D was huge. Like the concerts were selling out well, like the movies, like their DVDs for their concert stuff. He thought like, oh, we're basically untouchable. They put a movie in theater. Hardly anybody went to it because it's a stoner comedy, and stoners don't want to go see it in a theater. They want to smoke
I'll be
weed in their
honest with you, I
house.
don't think anybody went to see Cheech and Chong in the theater. I think
Not that
they
much.
waited
No,
for
they
the
usually go to the
VHS. They
drive-in.
waited for the VHS. No one.
Exactly. That's when it does do well. And that's the thing for a lot of horror. And but like I said, streaming is like showing that like this movies can be in theaters and they're still doing well. Obviously, they're going to do better on streaming. That's just
Well,
how
I
it is.
think what streaming
You're right
is
about
doing for horror is the same as what VHS did for the horror. It
that.
brought it to the
Exactly.
home market and showed, you know what, people love this shit. They're buying these tapes up like crazy. And it's the same thing. They'll go on and they'll buy the pre-releases. They'll spend the $24.99 for the the UHD version of their film that just premiered 2 weeks ago in theaters. They'll
Right.
buy it in 2 weeks and they'll watch it at home because you know what? At the end of the day, the $25 for that is still cheaper than bringing the whole family, buying concessions,
Yeah, exactly.
everything
But I mean,
else.
I remember Adam Green was very disappointed that Hatchet didn't, or didn't get to be in theaters, like because they like cut it down so much. They're like, oh, it's just way too violent. So it like kind of screwed him over. That's the only time he worked with like the studio was that first Hatchet movie. Then he just made the rest independently on his own because they meddled so much. But then they like, yeah, it's just too violent for theaters. We can't really even market this. And he's like, you kidding me? So streaming was just starting like Netflix, so they threw it on
Oh, I
there.
remember when Netflix first started. Hatchet was one of the first movies they picked up.
Uh-huh. So it did get life, but he was just like what he was being told was going to happen was exactly the opposite. And he said like I'm glad, I'm a little bitter, but I'm glad that like Terrifier and stuff are doing great and they get to be in theaters now. But I just remember how no. All that was when I was making movies, and it's like I'm
Well, the
happy for
times have
the new filmmakers,
changed.
but oh, it breaks my heart for what I worked on. But
The
whatever.
times have changed. There's no more grindhouses where these movies can be played. So either you make something
Yeah,
that's suitable for audiences, or there's no in between anymore. And a lot
yeah,
of
well,
people get intimidated if their movie is too violent or too whatever. The worst thing you do is put out a film that everybody's going to criticize or go after. It's better to just not do that, probably. But there is a market for it. There's dedicated fans that would like to see it. I think there's people that would like to see it. The only other thing is again, when you go to a theater, your average screen, while it might be bigger, is still only going at about 2K.
yeah,
You're not gonna get a full 4K UHD experience unless you watch it at home nowadays.
exactly.
And to some people, they'd rather
It's
just do
much bigger
that.
nowadays. So like
But
back in the
yeah, they've
day,
got an 80-inch TV at home with surround sound and a couch, and it's like, well, I'll just watch it at home. I'm fine.
you can
Plus,
eat
the
whatever you want.
pandemic ruined the movies for everybody. I mean, no, but people stopped going. People stopped doing things. Everybody got used to the home stuff. And even me. I mean, I did go to the Five Nights at Freddy's. I brought my kid to opening night, mostly because I wanted the opening night poster, though,
Yep,
and to get a hold of the opening night merch, because I know that shit sells.
right. That I used to the drive-in theater was my home for a few years there. I got to watch Jason Goes to Hell just on my couch aimed at the
That's
window.
great.
Turn
That's
on the
great. You can
radio.
just be like, forget about the free cable I used to have. God damn, now I'm watching full-length feature films right here.
Exactly.
No scrambler involved. It's great.
Oh,
But those were the days, because if a horror movie did come on the TV, or you were watching it, or even if you rented it, you made sure you watched it, and you watched it because you had it. If it was on TV, it was only on until it was over. Most people didn't record things. There was no DVRs. And if you rented it, you paid money for it, and you got to bring it back in 1, 2, 3 days, depending on where you rented it from.
I have boxes of VHSs that I would record like wrestling pay-per-views, nitros, and lots of like Monster Vision and USA Up All Night horror movies and stuff. But yeah,
I had a house fire in
edited
2010, but
horror
prior
movies.
to that, I worked at, a Blockbuster and a Hollywood Video. And, they would do like field destroy days where they have to destroy so many copies of films. Now, nobody would actually really destroy these films because that would be crazy. They would just bag them up really nicely and put them in the trash. At the end of the day, you go grab a bag and bring it home. You'd end
Exactly.
up with, hundreds of films.
I worked at a
Um,
Walmart store, so we had to do something similar with magazines when they come out dated. You
yeah,
have to
you
rip
rip the
the cover
covers.
off and send it back, because they like to keep track of that. But once the cover's off, they're like, "Oh yeah, throw this in the garbage." I'm like, "My car?" And they're like, "I don't care." So it's
Yeah, I know some places that will give them out to employees or put them in the employee break room, whatever, because they don't have the covers. That's all they want, is just the credit back.
mhm.
They
So
make
yeah, I
their
have
money
lots of
back that way.
horror magazines and other video game magazines and wrestling magazines that I just got a bunch for free. So, a couple
So
dirty
let
man.
me ask you a question: how far do you want? Where would you like to see Horror Addicts end? Like, how far do you want to take it?
Uh, honestly, I just like I want it to get a little like bigger again. Like not bigger, but my view count has gone down the last couple of years just because I'm not as consistent. But every year I throw those Oscars, and I've had like big channels like Dead Meat like present for me. And he's like got over 1 million or so. He's like the biggest horror channel there is, and stuff like that. So I want it to just be a little more fresh again, just for when that rolls around. I mean, my last Oscars did really well compared to the two before that, so it's still like the biggest thing, but it has outgrown the channel at this point. I don't know. I really just want to make real movies. It's not the end of the world for me that my channel isn't as like active as it was. I still put a lot of content on there, especially now shorts are a thing that's easier. So I don't know. It just
I'm with you. I bought a cinematic camera. I bought filming equipment. I just want to do some filming. I want to make something. I've done the YouTube thing for years now. It's a slow grind, but you know what I noticed with YouTube? As long as you keep active and keep putting up content, the numbers will still keep growing slowly.
yeah, yeah, exactly. So I'm
It's only
trying
when
to
you stop and are stagnant does it ever fall off.
a couple of years ago I was in a pretty like around 2021. I was just my grandma passed away, and she's like more of my mom than my mom ever was.
Yeah.
And between that and I was in a job that was just soul crushingly like bad and was getting worse and worse, I kind of just died and didn't like hardly put up anything that year at all. And I'm recovering from that. Like about a year and a half later, I started being really active again, more into it again, and I'm slowly getting back up to where I was. Like, but like I said, as long as you're consistent, it will slowly climb back up.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's not as important as to me as it used to be. Like I said, I'm working on short films now, and like even along like that found footage film. So I just want to make real movies, and I'm hoping once I get a little portfolio going, I can send them out there. I know Felissa Rose, I'm kind of friendly with her. Joe Bob, like I said, I'm friendly with them. And Joe Bob hasn't started yet, but he says he's going to start a production company. Felissa Rose is very much an active producer and stuff. So just mingle, make stuff, get things out there. Hopefully.
The way to go, though, honestly, it is. And that's the beauty in horror. You can do that. You can make that possible. It's not, especially in today's era. I mean, 30, 40 years ago was kind of crazy. You needed a very expensive camera. We're not talking 1,500. We're talking, 2,500. 25,000 rather. You needed something that could, hold rail. If it didn't before, digital and shit, you had real tape and shit. Nowadays, there's people that make movies that are being produced using just their cell phones and really good quality, log and shit. And they're able to get these films with editing and everything else, and they're I got Blu-rays of them, and in the end they'll say filmed with, an iPhone Pro 16.
Right.
I'm
I
like,
was
okay.
I was talking to the Addams Family, the people who made Hellbender and a bunch of other like short, like not short films, but indie films. But they're spelled different than the Addams Family. But
Yeah.
it's still. I was talking to them, and he was just like, "Yeah, I'd like go out there and like I know I'm not allowed to really film in this location without a permit, but with the cameras nowadays, you just say I'm taking a picture, like because it doesn't look any different. Like it's a camera on a tripod. It looks like you're getting ready to take a picture, but he's really just filming it like when no one's around. He was telling me all these guerrilla ways to do it.
Yeah, I
And I'm
mean, there
like,
was a guy that made the horror movie in Disney World, Gorilla, the whole thing.
exactly. And that's just kind of how it is. And it's cool. Like nowadays, and I tell that to a lot of YouTube channels too, like people who like ask me like, oh, I'm starting a horror channel, and like I'll have different sizes. Like I said, I get like so many people to present for the Oscars, and like I'll find young channels. I'm like, oh, I really want to shot a show like on you, so present this award or whatever. But they'll ask me like, how do you like really feel about getting started? And some of them get just determined right, like oh, I've been doing this for like 2 years and I hardly have any. And I'm like, hey man, think about it this way. When I was young, like you said, it was so expensive to make a movie or a skit or anything like that, like any budget or anything, and to have your own TV show that anybody can watch. That was illegal. Like that's what the whole pump up the volume was with. Like you like illegal radio channels. It was illegal to do that stuff. The government shut you down. Now everybody can just have their own TV show on YouTube and like just enjoy that. Even if it never gets super big and you don't make any money off it, just enjoy the fact that you have the freedom to do that. Like it's a great age to live in where you can just make content and put it out there. Like, it used to be like very hard, like expensive or even illegal to do that kind of thing. So
And you had to know certain people. You get blocked. People wouldn't work with you because you were unknown. I mean, there's a plenty of I've seen known names or people from the '80s that will take a chance and work with an independent director or an independent, film crew to make a movie for the fact of making a movie. They might not be getting paid that big check, but they're in it for the love of the movie, or it could be a fan film. It could be anything. You see it happen all the time. I think that for me, that's where it kind of is really interesting, just seeing and meeting the people in the indie film scene because they tell you things, they tell you how to do things, what you need, if you need. They're not, they don't gatekeep. They don't
No,
try to
they're not.
hide. They're very friendly people that want you to succeed as much as they succeed because everybody has their own visions.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe at a film festival, people get a little snobby, but outside of the film festivals, everybody is freaking just one of the boys, and everybody's cool, and everybody's just like chill. It's like, yeah, we use this and that, and this is how we got this effect, and this is how we did this, and we saved, thousands doing it this way.
Exactly. It's just like people like make the content you want to make, give like people help each other. They're very like horror community, like you said, is just overall very friendly. And I love that about it. Not just YouTube creators, but movie makers and other like horror content creators and just artists too, like people who just make horror art. Like that's why I love going to conventions because I'll like, oh, you like crocheted this Art the Clown or whatever. Like, yeah, that's so cool. And like,
Oh, the
yeah,
vendors at the conventions are amazing. Some of the creativity that come into this stuff.
mm-hmm.
You know, the things that the people make, and can make into horror. I mean, anything that you can think of can be made into horror things, which is really cool because there's something for everyone.
Exactly.
Horror is a lot bigger than people think. It's a lot more universal than people think. Everybody knows these characters or faces or names of these horror icons, even more than some other movie stars and icons. It's weird.
Exactly.
Uh,
Like, what's his name from Silent Night, Deadly Night 2, Garbage Day? Like, he wasn't doing conventions at all until a couple of years ago because he's like, would anybody actually want to like meet me? Like, why would anybody? I was
oh,
like,
they did. He had
one movie
one.
at
I
one
saw
time.
him in Connecticut. He was with the other one from the first movie. They were together,
Yeah.
and they were doing them side by side, and people were in line with those. People had the figures. I mean, that's the other thing. When you got this, NECA releases these figures every year they release new figures. It
Mm-hmm.
re-innovates these franchises or movies that people want to go out and meet these people to get their shit signed.
Yeah, exactly.
Like I went out, I waited years to get this one signed, but it's Texas Chainsaw one.
Mm-hmm.
I
And like,
wanted that one signed. Like I said, I got a lot. I collect a lot of horror stuff.
Blu-ray releases like by Arrowhead and stuff. They like bring out
I
these
got
old
my whole.
movies.
I don't know
Yeah,
if you can see that, but there's my
yeah,
whole little arrow wall. It's just like
yeah.
I go off. I'll buy the original, and then I'll go out and buy the four. I'll buy the special edition. I buy anything that has a collector's book with it. If it has a book, I buy it. I even like Grindhouse releases because they'll come with the books. They'll come with CDs,
Yep,
soundtracks.
it's awesome.
Um,
I love physical
Because
media.
at the end of the day, you never know who's going to end up with the rights to these films. You don't know what
Mhm.
they're going to take out. Look at what happened with Return of the Living Dead. They lost a song they can never get back. Like if you own the DVD, you can still listen to the original soundtrack. If you do not, you cannot listen to the original soundtrack. Even the new 4K, I don't think has the full soundtrack.
Yeah. That's
And
like the thing, like some of those TV shows from like the 80s and 70s. Like even when they finally did make them on DVDs and stuff, like they don't have the same soundtracks anymore.
even wrestling. Look how scrubbed
Back,
wrestling. By the time that Coliseum went to the network, it was all different.
yep. Way different.
But if you still have those original Coliseum videos, you saw things as its original form. And it's the same with a lot of these films. I also like to collect things that come with like work prints and weird versions because I do like seeing kind of like a behind or a rough edit and see what they do physically to make movies. I'm into that part and that aspect of it. Being someone that wants to direct and someone that wants to produce and put together things. I
Yeah,
find this stuff fascinating to a lot.
exactly.
They're like, it's not the movie, it's just some boring sci-fi. It's like, yes, but even though they had $1 million budget, they'll tell you how to do things on a cheap budget. Like I remember being younger and watching like all the Star Wars behind the scenes, and just a young George Lucas is telling all these tricks of the trade that he did for a cheap budget for that first film because he
Yeah.
didn't have the money.
Oh.
And they were using miniatures and using all sorts of different tricks that they could figure out that he wouldn't be able to fix until he remastered it like 30 years later, 40 years later. So it's like, and that's another thing. It goes to show you that you can put out something. It doesn't have to be your perfect vision. It just has to be
Yeah.
completed.
Mm-hmm.
You can always go back and remaster something years later.
Exactly. Sometimes you just gotta say that's good enough, and you gotta kick it out of the nest. Just because it's obviously there's a point where you should edit it somewhat, but don't like freak out
Well,
about it.
you can leave it on the editing table forever. It can never leave there if you're not careful.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. So.
We're our own worst critics. Sometimes we get too weirded out to put stuff out. We're like, nah, it's not my perfect vision. Nah. Even if other people say it's fine, it's like, nah, it's not what I want. It's like, gotta release it, let it go.
I wrote a lot of screenplays, and I went in there with a more different attitude than when I finished them. Like, you know what? It just became a life of its own, and it wrote out this way, and it's a lot quirkier than I wanted it to be originally. But you know what? This is how it should be. Like the same thing with the movie making too. Sometimes I'm like, well, the tone is actually gonna be this now. Like just because that's what's gonna work. And like that actually makes more sense. And you don't know that until you start working on it to like,
Well,
oh,
sometimes, yeah. I mean, sometimes what we say on paper and what we write in our head and see in our head doesn't transcribe the same through that lens. Things
mhm,
look different or act different. We see people in a different light. We're like, you know what? this is working. We're going to improvise. We're going to move this direction. This is the right way to go.
You got to be able to think on the spot like that and adapt and evolve. So, and let go sometimes.
That I think is very important, just the letting go part, just getting it out there.
Hmm.
Because a lot of people, it doesn't matter if it's a movie or even a podcast. You know how many people I talk to that want to start a podcast and they never get it off the ground because they can't get that perfect first episode. It's like, dude, my
Right?
first episode sucked. I don't even remember it. But I just kept doing it because I knew eventually I'd be good at it or I'll suck forever. But I'm having fun. So who
God, I
cares?
was so drunk my first episode.
You're still drunk now.
I
Nothing changed.
Well, it's like my wife recently started the Strange and Unusual Book Club podcast, and she was like stressing herself out so much, and I was like, I don't want you to like quit, but I want you to like think about it like this. This should be fun for you. And she's like, okay. She took that, and she's like, she's gonna like that. Like maybe not because I listen to a lot of podcasts, and they're not like perfectly edit each video, like where there's nothing like she wants to perfectly edit them all. It's like a lot of work. I'm like, I listen to a lot of podcasts. They don't edit much at all, and they're just fun and enjoyable because I like listening to those people talk about those things. And so, I don't
Yeah,
know.
I hardly, honestly, the podcasts, I hardly edit. I like to edit film and do that and color grade and put in that kind of shit. But
Mhm.
for the podcast, I really don't. I mean, we haven't had issues where it's needed heavy editing.
Mhm.
And I mean, yeah, there's some
She
blocks
didn't
and
need
there's
it.
some.
She's a perfectionist sometimes. She did that with a
No,
lot of her.
there's some. I mean, I know there's some places that be like, oh, you could cut spots and time out here and make it more flow better. It's just like, yeah, I could, but that wasn't what the episode was. This was what the episode was, and I just leave it that is. We're live
Exactly.
now. People are gonna remember it as it was live. We're not trying to
Exactly.
make Deller affect them and change the freaking script halfway through, so they're all like, "What the hell did I watch the other night?"
Well, that's the thing. She does a lot of live streams and she has fun. I'm like, you don't need to edit all those, right? It's like, well, no. I'm like, well, ease a little bit up on the podcast too. Like, just have fun, enjoy. Talk
You
a little
have to have fun. If you're not having fun, it's not honestly worth it. It really
bit.
is, and I tell that to people all the time because the money in it isn't there. It's not. If you're doing it for the money, you're in it for the wrong reason.
Exactly. Especially
If
as a
you're doing
YouTube
it for the clout,
ending.
you're in it for the wrong reason. If you're doing it for the likes, the subscribes, you're in it for the wrong reason. You got to start to do it because A, it's a topic you enjoy, and B, because you have fun doing it. Either you have a co-host that you enjoy being with and having fun with, or you
Mhm.
enjoy talking about your topic. You have maybe a fan or two, maybe you have a bunch of fans, but you enjoy communicating with them. You get to know them, and you just
Your
build
audience
off of all of that.
your audience will know that too. If you're like, they know that you're having fun doing it, they'll have fun listening to it. Like, obviously, if it's a topic they're not into, they'll move on. But you'll attract a real, genuine audience that are enjoying what you're enjoying. If you're pushing yourself through falsehood, like you're gonna get burnout. It's gonna be a grind, and it's gonna be kind of a grind for your audience too. Like, so it won't attract to you as well if they can tell that you're really not having fun with it and being
No, I
focused.
agree. I agree with 100%. And we are a little bit over the hour. I got just a few more questions. You said you run it. You obviously you run the YouTube page, and is that where people can find all your films? Is through that subscription YouTube?
Yeah, the Horror Addicts TV there. That's where I put all my stuff. But I'm also active like on Instagram, TikTok, all the things, social media. It's always Horror Addicts TV on all of them.
So
So
everything goes under the channel name.
yeah, under Horror Addicts TV. I mean, I have a couple of personal ones on some of them as well, but most I'd rather people like find all my content on those ones. So,
Yeah. No,
but
very
yeah,
cool.
the short films on there. Got tons of reviews, unboxings, live streams.
We
gameplay.
are always open for doing collabs and working with others and doing horror stuff and whatever needs to be done. I'm always like one of those people. I don't try to, like I said, I don't believe in the gatekeeping thing or
Exactly.
I believe collabs are fun because you learn something and you teach something all in the same time because everybody's different. Everybody runs their show differently. Everybody does a little bit something different, but everyone's had their success in a little bit of a different way. And it's
Exactly.
kind of cool to learn how they did it compared to others and what they've done. I do enjoy that aspect of it. And I do thank you for taking the time and coming out to the show.
It was an honor, man. Thank
yeah,
you.
thank you, Danny. Appreciate it, man.
Yeah, and like even if someone doesn't like the same horror movie as me, like I sometimes I'm pretty hard on some of the movies, but I'll be like, if you liked this, let me know down in the comments. And like, oh, I really did like that movie. I'm like, that's cool. Especially when someone like if they think I don't like a movie, but it's like their favorite horror movie or favorite movie. I'm like, your favorite movie is a horror movie. Even if it wasn't my like, favorite, I'm just glad that you like horror. And like I don't ever like want to hate on people for that. Same thing with like just the content in general. Like I said, that's why I think the community is pretty open-minded and overall, and that's why I love it
Because
about it.
yeah, at the end of the day, whether you liked it or not, it still falls under horror. I liked horror, and that's good
Exactly.
enough.
So when
Enough.
someone does like if they don't like it, I just want to like, well, what didn't work for you? Like I want to know. Or if I didn't like it, what did work for you? I want to know because even it might not change my mind, I'm still interested in your perspective on it. So
Oh, I like some of the movies that people hate the most, but I like them for my own reasons. And
exactly.
sometimes it is simple as that. Sometimes you just like the way it was shot. Sometimes you like the aesthetic.
hmm
And sometimes you just like the raw freaking content where other people have this shock value or like, oh my God, or this disgusted feeling in their stomach that they can't finish the film. I'm there like, I want to see how far this director really can take it behind the lens. What can they really do and how far will they go? I know it's
Right.
going to be a hard watch. I know they're going to be touching topics that are trigger warnings left and right. But I want to see how far this art can go because at the end of the day, it's a form of art, whether it's a painting, a song, or a movie, it's somebody's expression of something. And I want to see where they can take it. How dark can they make it?
Right. I want to see that too. I want to see. I don't like it when studios meddle, and that's why I love horror because most of not all horror, but there's plenty of indie horror. Like plenty of people
Oh
are.
yeah, one of my favorite directors is Fred Vogel. You know, he did the August Underground series, but then he came back and did like the Final Interview, which is a totally different style horror film. You
Mhm.
know, and it's done in a totally. It has a budget. There's a different aesthetic to it. It's not a found footage film. It's not about serial killers, but there's this tenseness in there that I haven't felt in a very long time watching it because it was like two people. You know, in a final interview, someone who's on death row, and you can feel the tenseness. Like if you were almost there waiting as the clock ticks, this guy's got to die. This guy's doing the interview. He's fucking around. He's drunk. You know, he has his own issues he's dealing with. The killer has his own issues, and everybody, and you're just sitting there like, okay, what's going to happen? I know something's going to happen. And I haven't actually felt that way in a movie in a very, very long time. It moved me to that sense. I was like, okay, I can feel myself getting a little racy because I'm anticipating something's going to happen. I don't know what the hell it is.
Yeah.
Mm.
Exactly. And like that's what I want. I want genuine art. And hardly any of the other genres have that much independent. I'm not saying they don't. It's just they don't have as much. Like horror is where a lot of independent filmmakers are.
Yeah, it's
And
hard to make an independent, I think you can do it like I've seen independent comedies, but like independent action films are almost impossible because you need good money to have the special effects.
yeah, they were
You
like kind
need
of
a
a
stunt
thing in
actor.
the
You need
80s,
these
but
things. You can get away without a stunt actor in a horror film because you can just there's ways of doing it. In action, you almost need something because you're against. Put it this way, like if you want to make a horror movie today, you can go on Tubi and find a really shitty horror movie, and you can
mhm.
be like, you know what, I can make something that's not as boring,
Yeah, you
and
can.
you probably can. But now you go and watch a shitty horror action movie, regardless, it's only shitty because of the plot.
Right.
The action in it could be nonstop goddamn action that you financially can't compete with. They're blowing shit up for no
Oh
reason that you can't even touch.
yeah. Exactly. You can hate or love Michael Bay, but you can't compete with that budget of like him just blowing up cities and giant robots and all that kind of shit.
No, and it's like doesn't even matter at that point. It's like don't even try. It's like you know.
Right.
But the horror you can kind of do. You can kind of film. Like I said, you can film a found film footage. Like you
Found
know,
footage, slasher, zombie, those are things you can do good, cheap.
yeah.
The one thing that weirds me out is like, why is there so many cheap shark movies? That is not something you can do cheap. Like Jaws, even Spielberg had the hardest time doing that with studio budget. He thought he was going to get fired so many times while making that movie. I don't know
Because you
why.
know why? Because practical effects became out and VFX came in, and VFX are so much cheaper than practical. I
But
can
none
make
of
a
those.
I can make a 3D shark in 10 minutes, and then
But the movie won't be good. Like that's the point. It's like I don't know. Like I said, you can make a good slasher. You can make a good found footage. You can make a good zombie movie even. But there's so many cheap shark movies, and some of them are funny, but they're not good. So,
Sharknado kind of fucking put a taint on the scene.
yeah,
And you have a tornado full of sharks, and then you had all these other ones. And
right,
then they started with the cocaine bear, and then you got a whole bunch of other animals on drugs.
right.
And it's like, okay, but to me, I consider those creature features, which they're a genre of horror. It's not my favorite genre of horror because I don't find it scary enough. But I appreciate it for what it was because at some point those were the horror movies, creature features. People were afraid of the thing. People were afraid of, the creature of the Black Lagoon and Frankenstein and this and that. That was scary to them.
Mm-hmm. And
Today,
like the
these are
comic age, giant bugs and all that stuff, and then Jaws had the nature attack where it's like we have grizzly and we have all these other ones where just like animals that kill like piranha, they'll just get you. So,
the
but
only one
they're kind
I
of
did
fun.
find like
They're
Anaconda. I
fun.
thought that was interesting because they brought Ice Cube into it and they had some cool special effects in there. And there was a big ass snake.
I remember I saw it in the theater and like the light for whatever reason the theater lost power. So that was just kind of funny. I remember like some kid was kind of like crying and like being comforted by his mom or something. Like he wasn't super young, but it was just funny. I'm like, oh no, I feel it by my feet. It's the snake.
Well, yeah, you're watching a movie with some slid and all of a sudden the light goes like, what the fuck? Something's moving.
It was good times.
Uh, no, I think that's the good part of horror. I mean, even the bad horror, you can kind of sit there and laugh a little bit about it, or at least appreciate the efforts put into it. Because
Exactly.
someone took the time to sit there and direct it and try to get it done, even if it was just a series of mishaps that made it shitty. Is a
That's
story to be told there,
a lot of genre, like Rick said, where there's a lot of indie people, like people who really want to make art are in there. And the one thing I don't really want to talk movies with people who like just I hate horror. I'm like, okay, why? They're all the same. Well, good way to let me know that you don't watch horror because they are not all the same. They are very different. Like Color from Outer Space is like nothing like Psycho. I'm sorry, they're like completely two different
That's my
movies.
wife. My wife hates horror. She thinks they're all the same. They think that they're all going to be scary. And I'm like, no. Like, we don't have to watch a slasher or some kind of bloody murderous film. We can
Mhm.
watch something like much more psychologically scary that, like you can watch something like Get Out or something
Mhm.
much more mindfuckish that has less gore that will be just as
Exactly.
entertaining. She
Get
watches,
Out and The
she
Thing are
watches
both
true
great
crime.
movies, but way different. So it's just like, yeah, when you get to subgenres, there's a lot of clones, like slasher clones and zombie horde clones, but that's just subgenres. Like horror itself has a huge variety, and horror mixes with everything, like horror comedy, horror sci-fi, horror action, horror romance, even. Like it mixes with all the other
That
genres very
romantic
well.
is probably the greatest horror romance you
Yeah,
can write.
there you go. I agree.
Although Vic will say it's Return of the Living Dead 3.
I
It's a
like
love story.
it is. It is a love story.
But no, you're right. It can cross over, or it could just be, now you got, pretty big now. Like I said, the found footage, and then also paranormal horror. You
Mhm.
know,
Annabelle,
paranormal activity sparked a whole subgenre of movies where you can have all these things moving in the night.
term I don't really like is elevated horror, but there's plenty of that too. There's plenty of the artsy, art house horror. That's way different than some of your other type of horror movies. It's a genre
I,
that
I, I don't mind the art house
I
horror
don't
as
mind
much
either, but
because
it's not like
I'm
the
a fan of
elevated term.
because
But
like I'm a fan of Giallo horrors too, and
yeah,
some
those are
of the
great.
art houses I don't really mind. Like
Yeah,
I know a lot of people didn't like the movie Irreversible, but I thought it was done
I like
very well. I
I like
liked
it.
it because of the way it was shot, A,
Hmm.
and B, the just shooting something in reverse and making the viewer mind fucked. I enjoy movies like that.
Yeah,
It's something different. It's something that nobody else is doing,
exactly.
and that's what I like to see.
I didn't really care for Skinamarink as a movie, but I do applaud that they did something different. And like as art, I would definitely say it's art. I
I
don't know,
haven't
like,
been able to be honestly. I haven't been able to finish it. I own it. I got it with the Shutter 10th anniversary edition. And I keep getting like halfway through it, and I'm just like,
I
it's
get like
not
as a
holding my
movie, it
attention.
falls apart for me. But like maybe a creepy 20-minute short, it would have been probably like I probably would have praised it. Like because there is a good part in there was like 20 minutes of creepiness, and if I had really no background, I'd be like, that was interesting. I probably would have. As a full-length movie, I think it's not really a good movie.
I
But
went
it's
in there hoping to
art.
be something spooky, like the Babadook or something, kind of that could hold my attention. It just
Right.
got too weirded out. I was like,
I think Good Boy kind of did it better recently, if you've seen that, because they never show really the people's faces in focus. Like they barely do towards the end and stuff. but most of the time the people aren't the focus. So I felt like that was kind of like a Skinamarink where it didn't really show anybody's face in focus,
Yeah.
but it had a real story and it told a real thing from beginning to end. And like I loved the dog itself, so I think that
I
was
think
the
that was
story
unique
better.
too, because we haven't seen a good dog horror since like Cujo.
Yeah, Cujo and it was Bad Moon, which is based off the book Thor.
Yeah.
So those were good, but those were both long ass time ago, like in the 80s.
Yeah. I mean, I just met Dee Wall. She was still talking Cujo, but it's like talking 30 something odd years, 40 years ago. It's like,
These
but
are
I think a lot of people get nervous touching animals in film because of the animal rights nowadays is so much different,
they
and
can't make it like they used to. Like,
the
and that's a
animals
good
get treated better on set than the human actors nowadays. They'll get better services.
Like one of my favorite movies when I was a little kid was Milo and Otis, but they went through so many Milos because it was made in Japan. I didn't even know that until I got older. And even though it's just this cute little kids movie with Ringo, I think is the narrator. Like it was horrible how they treated those animals. It makes me sad that that's how they did it back in the day. But Japan in the early 80s, I mean, come on, they didn't have any animal rights people.
Well, I mean, even Cannibal Holocaust and Cannibal Frogs, they had live
they
animal
killed all
kills.
those animals. That's one of the reasons why he got in trouble. I mean, yeah, they really thought he was like, did he murder that lady that he put on a pike? But he also caused fire chaos without a permit. That's when he like lit all those huts on fire and he killed those animals. So he got a lot of hot water for that movie.
And I mean, and like, granted, they did eat the animals they killed, I was told, but it's still at the time it was just like, and even today, people now they have an animal cruelty free version of it on the Blu-ray because people don't want to see animals being killed in real life.
I don't want to see a real animal die. It's not fun.
It's not necessary for cinematic purposes at all.
Exactly. I don't mind if an animal dies in the movie, like the character of the animal. I just don't,
It doesn't need to be a real animal death to make that happen.
Exactly. That doesn't make it better for me in any way. It makes it worse.
Yeah, now the actor of the movie's dead. It's like, God damn it.
Right. So, but no, Good Boy. I thought that was great. It took him like 3 years of just him and his wife filming most of the movie, and then they kind of got a few people in to finish it up. And
yeah, but I mean that's the thing. People think movies can be done overnight. It's like, no, sometimes it'll be year after year. You'll just keep plugging away pieces and bits and pieces of it and putting it in here and there. And as long as you have all your frames and shots in order when you're ready, you can have it edited into something workable. That's what editing does. It makes the watchable.
Exactly. So
just have a good sound guy. If you don't have sound, you're gonna suck. But it's the only thing I can say. Bad sound, no good.
Right? Oh yeah. People have noticed on YouTube, like this is the thing I learned. Like audio, like your video, they want it to look good, obviously, but they can put up with that being not perfect, but bad sound, and they'll tune out. They're like, nope. If it's really bad audio, they'll just quit. Like,
oh yeah.
It tours people.
I mean, luckily we have phones and we have mics that are pretty good nowadays. That just come with things basically. But if, like 5 years ago, you had to buy almost a separate mic, or the standard mic was just trash.
Exactly. So that's something I was learning in my early days of YouTube. I didn't always have the best sound, and I try to like fix it in Audition, and I just make it probably more echoey than, but I'm just like
adding all this reverb and taking away this and that.
Awful. And then I would learn like through
you just put auto tune to it and turn it into a song.
Exactly. I learned through the statistics that people hate that more than they hate bad video. So fair enough.
Well, yeah, I mean, it is. But like I said, we don't really we try not to edit because it just, I don't know, unless something really bad happens, which we haven't had happen yet. We really haven't.
Good. Knock on wood.
Well, yeah. Good night.
Are you not be driving?
Yeah, I'll be up in a second. Bye. Bye.
Coming.
Hey,
got stuck.
Oh no.
Thing got stuck. I got it.
Done.
I got it. Hi.
Oh, I miss when my kid was that age.
Hi.
Hey, how we doing?
Good.
Nice.
Okay.
Not to that to you.
Okay.
It's like shit. Wait, that was a bad one.
All right, Mr. Phantasma, let's go on daddy duty.
Yes, it's that time of night, but I do thank you very much.
Well,
On And let's stay in contact. Let's get something going in 26. Let's do a collab here. Let's work on some things.
Sounds good. We should.
We'll stay in contact, definitely. Thank you for coming on. Thank you, everybody at
Thanks
home
for
for
having me.
watching. And as
Bye,
always,
everybody.
stay spooky.
Bye.
Oh yeah.
Bye.
Like and subscribe.